Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate. Heading back out to the Pac-12 as Oregon State heads on the road to play Coach Prime in the Colorado Buffaloes. And this is a really intriguing matchup for the one reason that styles make fights, and these two programs have completely different styles. You look at Colorado, a ton of speed, a ton of playmaking ability on the outside. And then you look at Oregon State, they want to establish the line of scrimmage. They want to run the football. Two completely different styles. Going to be a really interesting matchup. Now, before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. The amount of support y'all have shown. These game breakdowns, I have a blast doing them, but y'all have shown just a ton of support, and I can't thank you guys enough. So if you do enjoy the content, you want to support the fellas, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, the best part about doing this, talking ball with you guys in the comment section, picks, predictions, keys to the game, drop them in there. We'll chop it up. Without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with this Oregon State offense that I think is really flying under the radar. And I get a very disappointing loss on the road against Arizona last week where it felt like they left points on the field. It felt like, quite frankly, they left a win on the field against Arizona. But this Oregon State offense has been really good. You take a look at some of the overarching numbers, 33.7 points per game. That is 20th in the country, 6.7 yards per play. That is number 11 in the country. It's no secret what Oregon State wants to do on the offensive side of the ball. They got one of the best offensive lines, not only in the Pac-12, but in the country, and they want to road grade. Damian Martinez is running the rock just about as good as anyone in the country. This team as a whole is averaging 5.1 yards per carry. That's 20th in the country. They run the ball a lot. They run the ball effectively. But what I think makes this Oregon State offense more special than it was last year, they ran the ball well last year. What I think it makes more special is that they're marrying the downfield passing attack with the run game extremely well, right? They're forcing teams to load the box to try to stop this rushing attack. And when they do, they go play action and they hit the deep shot to some really fast receivers outside. Silas, Bolden, Gould. They have some wide receivers that can really make plays down the field with their speed, with their ability to operate in space. And you look at the passing numbers, 60% completion percentage, that's 68th in the country. That's not necessarily an amazing stat, but what is 9 yards per pass. That is 16th in the country. This Oregon State team is doing a really nice job finding those explosive plays down the field. Now, you look at Colorado, the reason what I've been really impressed with Colorado is they're forcing turnovers. And turnovers are a massive part of college football. 4 turnovers in the first half against UCLA, and it shouldn't come as much of a surprise. They have the best defensive back we've ever seen play the sport of football as their head coach and Coach Prime. But they do a nice job turning the ball over. The one matchup that you're looking at is, can Oregon State establish the run against the Colorado team that has, quite frankly, struggled to stop the run? And Coach Prime has noted they are trying to get more bodies, Power 5, top-end Power 5 bodies on the defensive line. They're not quite there yet. Coach Prime has said that. Oregon State, I think, is going to have a heavy dose of running the football again. This Colorado team allowing 4.5 yards per carry. That is 92nd in the country. If you're looking at one big matchup in this game, it's Oregon State running the football, and can Colorado stop the run? And if they can, and they decide to put some bodies in the box, guys like Shiloh Sanders, who I believe is out for the first half of this game, to stop the run, can Oregon State hit that explosive pass behind them when they start loading the box? That's probably the biggest question I'm looking at in terms of this matchup. Now, flipping sides, this Colorado offense has the pieces to be extremely dangerous, right? Shadur Sanders is playing extremely well at the quarterback spot. They have a ton of wide receivers that can make plays down the field. Xavier Weaver, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr. They can hit the explosive play, and quite frankly, it doesn't even need to be pushing the ball down the field because they have wide receivers that can make people miss and work after the catch as well. The big bugaboo for this Colorado team has been protecting Shadur, keeping him clean in the pocket, and it's been a really big problem. You take a look, if Colorado fans watched, they heard Coach Prime's, Coach Prime's criticism in the press conference. This offensive line isn't there. And again, you take a look at some spots, and Coach Prime has really overhauled this roster in so many different areas, but the hardest spot to do so is finding quality offensive line bodies in the transfer portal, and that is probably the one position where they didn't do a great job. because they are really struggling to protect Shedeur Sanders. You take a look at the numbers from UCLA last week, 27 quarterback hurries. Shedeur was sacked 8 times and was hit 9 times. And those numbers probably could have been worse if Shedeur Sanders didn't create outside of the pocket a few of those times. Those are some really bad numbers from the offensive line. And what can Colorado do to help Shedeur Sanders stay clean and get the ball out? I think there's 2 things. One, you could have your tight ends and running backs chip and help out in protection, or you could focus on the quick passing game, getting the ball out quick on time to these wide receivers that can go to work after the catch. They'll have to do something like that because this is an Oregon State team that can get after the passer. They're sacking the quarterback 8.7% of the time. That is top 30 in the country. You look at the matchup here, the big story is, can Oregon State get after Shedeur Sanders and throw him off the spot? Because when you see this Colorado team cooking, it's when Shedeur Sanders is kept clean. This offense can be extremely dangerous. That being said, when this Colorado offense struggles, it's plain as day what the problem is. They can't protect Shedeur Sanders. And so if you're Oregon State, you're looking to get after Colorado, get after Shedeur Sanders, and create some pressure. And if you're Colorado, you got to find some way to mitigate the pass rush. Again, whether it's leaving extra bodies in to help in protection, or it's just getting the ball out quick before that pass rush can get there. But quite frankly, having Shedeur Sanders sit for 3 or 4 seconds in that pocket and letting longer routes develop downfield has not been a good strategy because they can't protect Shedeur Sanders for that long for those routes to get open. These wide receivers would get open. They just can't protect Shedeur Sanders long enough to do so. This Oregon State defense, it's been solid. I think it's leaving a little bit to be desired. And I think a lot of Oregon State fans would agree with that in terms of it's not a bad – you look at the numbers of 23 points per game allowed. That's 45th in the country, only 5.3 yards per play. That's 51st in the country. I think the expectations for this Oregon State defense with all the production that they had coming back was maybe a top 20 defense. And this is a game where they could potentially find that kind of form. Now, getting to the pick here. This is what the line's sitting at 13 points for Oregon State on the road. I'm actually going to take the over in the points, 62 points. I don't normally take totals. I normally take sides, but this is a game where I think Oregon State will be able to move the football running. And I don't know if Colorado can stop them. And I think Colorado will be able to find some explosive plays. This is a Colorado team that has done a really nice job finding explosive plays, putting some points on the board. I don't have a ton of trust in this Colorado defense that is bottom half in the country. And I have a lot of trust in this Oregon State offense. And I do have some confidence that Shedeur Sanders and these wide receivers will be able to find a few explosive plays to put some points up on the board as well. As opposed to taking the side, I'm going to be taking the over 62 points. Massive game, 10 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be up for it. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys as usual. Again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.